Tonight, it's nearly 1.5 months since suspended procurement and accounting offices submitted documents for a lifestyle audit as ordered by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The lifestyle audit was ordered in the wake of the second NYS scandal in which close to 10 billion shillings was alleged to have been lost. The president had directed that the vetting of the procurement offices be done within a month and action taken on those found to have acquired wealth through the back door. But 6 weeks later, there's no word about the process that has now been predestined top government secret, never mind that it was announced in public and is being undertaken on public servants. Pundits now say the public announcement was a political statement without strict legal basis. The president also said that the audit will at some point involve polygraph tests. According to accounting and procurement officers who spoke to KTN but withheld their identity, the polygraph tests are part of the highly guarded lifestyle audit. Remember, the admissibility of the lie detectors in a legal process is still in question. And even as the NYS2 cases continues in court, it remains unclear if any progress is being made in the lifestyle audit to recover the stolen monies. Let me now take you back to 2 months ago when the president ordered the vetting of procurement officers.
As an initial step, all heads of procurement and accounts in government ministries, departments, agencies, and parastatals will undergo fresh vetting, including polygraph testing, to determine their integrity and suitability. Those who shall fail the vetting will stand suspended.
It is Tuesday, the 14th day of August 2018. A very good evening and a warm welcome to the program. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim. Of course, this is the big story right here on KTN News. On the show tonight, I shall be speaking to IcePark CEO Edwin Makori, Patrick Mayo, who is a council member of the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, as well as SOI Member of Parliament Caleb Kositani. But before we hear from them, let's now cross over live to our lead reporter, Sophia Nuna, who has been following the lifestyle audit closely for us. Sophia, good evening.
Good evening, Yusuf. Yes, as you rightfully mentioned, it has been 1.5 months since the president announced that lifestyle audit on procurement heads as well as accounting officer, finance heads in the public institutions. And up until that announcement, there is not much else we know about the fashion and the manner in which it's been conducted, who has been taken through it, what are the implications or the outcome of this particular exercise. All at the time we heard from the president is this was just to tighten the measures since there had been seen, at least in as far as considering how these leakages are happening, whether it's in ministries or the public institutions, that a lot of this mess is around these officers and that they needed to be looked at. Their lifestyles, is that commensurate? Is that matching the money they make? Because in essence, a lifestyle audit is meant to explain that if you're getting this much, these are your earnings, this is your worth, and the lifestyle you have, is that matching? If it's not, can you explain it? And so at the time, the polygraph test that the president mentioned, that there would be used lie detector tests, if you like. Of course, legal pundits coming out at the time to say that is something that could possibly face legal challenges in as far as it's bringing the same evidence to court, if you like, if it is challenged. But what's interesting is after that statement that was made, the announcement on the 1st of June, we later saw the president reiterate and going a step further in as far as this lifestyle audit is concerned, announcing that even he himself as president would submit and subject himself to one, his deputy president, saying all of these other governors and public officials, his ministers as well, would go through a lifestyle audit. So since then, I have talked to a number of government officials and even earlier to the government spokesperson, Eric Kirai. Then he said at this particular time, the exercise is ongoing. They do not want to speak to it. The results will speak for itself. And that is a statement that, again, we've heard from other officials saying that it's ongoing. There are various officials, of course, that are have been put together from different investigative agencies, each of them contributing officers to participate in this, and so that it's a matter that it's been handled by a multi-sectoral agency. But of course, the lack of information that we were told this is going to happen, but it's unclear how the process is ongoing, is one that's leaving many Kenyans wondering, is that lifestyle audit in limbo? And once this audit happens, will it be made public? Will Kenyans be able to understand? Because it's part of what makes corruption and impunity thrive. It's that it happens in the dark, is that, people can be able to do whatever it is they want and get away with it. But when it's in the spotlight, when it's scrutinized, that is when then it can be seen to be happening above board. So according to Eric, rather, that process is ongoing. But you'll also remember, Yusuf, there is the Public Officers and Ethics Act that touches on declaration of wealth, so that despite this announcement by the President, there was intended in our law, in the Constitution, that these exercises take place as a matter of course, so that when one joins public office, they submit this declaration of wealth, and also every 2 years that is supposed to be happening, so that it should have been going on even over the years, not just after the President announced or directed that the same take place. But this also then speaks to a breakdown in the already existing structures. And you remember some time back, the CEO, EACC, I beg your pardon, Harakewako, talking to a committee of parliament, talking about the challenge they face also as investigative organs, because once an individual, this public officer, submits a form of declaration of wealth, it's sealed. That information then has to be unsealed. There has to be an okay, a go-ahead. You present the reason why you'd want this information unsealed. You, as Yusuf, EACC as an investigatory organ, if they want to, and then the persons who this information belongs to has to either consent to the same happening or refuse. And so they see that as one of those hindrance and stopgap measures that have really affected even the processes that have been there in the past. So and as far as this lifestyle audit, it's a wait and see, really. But the agencies, the various officers say it is ongoing. But I spoke to a finance officer who says since the announcement was made, you remember, they're all told to go on compulsory leave. So they're on leave. She, in particular, working for one of the public institutions, is earning her full salary and benefits, which include a leave allowance, because she's not been suspended. So there's a leave allowance on top of her salary. So you can see still the cost that's going with this. And of course, the work perhaps that's being interfered with, seeing that some of these officers remain out of office. So yeah, there are some critics that have argued it's a mud in secrecy, but government agencies are saying they're not doing it for the public gallery. We will see results. The country will see it in the end. So we'll wait to see. Yusuf.
Of course, we'll wait and see. Many thanks, Sophia, for that comprehensive update on a matter that we're still, of course, receiving scant information about, that has everything to do with the lifestyle audit. Remember, this is a matter that almost brought division within the ruling Jubilee Party. In studio, once again, I have Honorable Caleb Kositani, who's a Member of Parliament, Patrick Mayo, Council Member of the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, and Edwin Makori, who's the Iceberg CEO. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to the program. Mheshimiwa, let me begin with you. Before you even tell us your opinion with regards to the lifestyle audit, critics are saying that, what the President said about 2 months ago with regards to the audit is a political statement that lacked, any sort of, legal backing. What will you say about that?
Well, I think I was saying Kenyans need to give the President time, and the process, as you've heard from Sophia, is ongoing. Mm-hmm. And it's not a process that you're going to be making noise about, that today we interviewed so-and-so, and we discovered that he or she wasn't speaking the truth, or we've discovered that they own more than it relates to their salary. So I think we need to give the government time. The process is ongoing. I've heard from one or two friends they have declared their wealth. Vis-a-vis is checked with what information that the government has already collected. So I think we just need to give the President time, and the process is ongoing. And let's stop fishing around for for mistakes, and let's stop this blame game. This is a process that is ongoing, and I think we'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, we've talked to a couple of accountants, and procurement officers. We're going to reveal what they've told us within the program. But let me bring in Patrick Mayer, I believe is with us here. Patrick is a council member of the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management. Now, Patrick, it's been almost 2 months down the line. The president, of course, since he declared lifestyle audit targeting state offices. How would you describe the process, first of all?
Thank you very much, Hussein, for inviting me for this program. Yes, the initial announcement was that this was supposed to last 30 days, and it has now taken more than 30 days. Nobody knows exactly when this is going to end. And because of that, there's a lot of uncertainty. And where this uncertainty, it is not very good, it's not something very encouraging. It is the wish of the Institute, Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, that there would be greater openness in handling this matter instead of doing it in the way it is currently being done.
Initially, we were told this process will take 30 days, but it seems we're almost 2 months down the line. Edwin, I'd like to hear your opinion on this first before you proceed.
Thank you, Yusuf. And as my counterpart for the supplies management has said, the process was to actually take 30 working days.
Yes.
That was from the 6th of June. To date is 49 working days. If we look from a calendar perspective, it's actually more than 2 months since the process started. The whole process, we support the process as an institute to be able to ensure that we have corruption eradicated from our institutions. But the lack of information and how the process is actually being undertaken is what is bringing in this kind of lacuna that everyone is guessing and trying to fill up what is it that is happening. We would have wanted to see a more structured process. And this we mirror it to what happened to the judges and magistrates. And even to the discipline forces. Just the other day, they're being taken through a vetting process. The procurement and accounting officers are professionals. And they all abide to a code of ethics. They've gone through a formal training to be where they are. These are senior officers of the government. We would have expected to have a structured process of being able to do this in such a way that information is out there to the public to be able to know how the process is being undertaken.
Yes, you've talked about the need to have a solid structure to execute the order by the president. Let me bring in Mheshimiwa Caleb once again into this debate. And Honorable Caleb, apparently reports out there indicate that the audit is being carried out, of course, in secret. We've talked to a number of these accountants and procurement officers. They're saying that they've had their homes raided at night in some cases during their ongoing purge. Do you believe there's a valid reason for these state officers to undergo this kind of a process? Is it realistic?
Well, I think for a very long time we've had issues of corruption, and we want to, whatever it takes to fight corruption, let it be. I mean, it's unfortunate that they'll have to go through some humiliation and a very tedious and embarrassing process. But I think for us to get the end results, let us go through the baptism of fire. And at the end of it all, those who come out clean, let them continue with their jobs. Those who will have been found to have misappropriated public funds, then will face the rule of law. But I think as Kenyans, let us just give this process time. And Hussein, and this is a very key investigation, because procurement officers are the ones who procure for government. Remember, people have been known to exaggerate prices, to manipulate tenders and everything. So the secrecy that is involved in this process is welcome because it is a process that has to be done. You're dealing with people who are also intelligent enough. They have money, as has been said by my colleague here. So I think let us give the process time and give it and be patient as Kenyans and not fish around for trouble.
Let me hear Patrick Mayor's point of view. Patrick, do you think there's any valid reason whatsoever to carry out such an exercise in, top secrecy?
The stand of the Institute is that we are against the corruption. We support the government fully in the fight of corruption. However, in the process of doing so, let it be done diligently so that you do not punish possible innocent people for long. If you do it wrongly, then of course you will not be fighting corruption, you will be encouraging corruption. Let us take the example of NYS 1. The then director of NYS, the principal secretary, and several other officers were taken to court. And therefore, people felt that, in fact, something is being done to fight corruption. Eventually, all those people were taken to court. They were all freed. If you ask a reasonable member of the public, they will tell you that there was evidence that certain things were done and done wrongly, in fact, criminally. But because of the manner in which it was handled, then, of course, nobody was convicted, and it is our opinion in the Institute that that has encouraged further corruption that now brought what is called NYS 2. So let us get these facts clear. We are against corruption. As an institute that deals with procurement professionals, I can tell you that corrupt procurement officers are very few. I doubt whether they would reach 10%. They are in actual fact less than 10%.
So you're saying they should not undergo the humiliation that we are currently witnessing, the reports that we've been collecting?
I'm saying that whatever is done ought to be done within the confines of the law and the Constitution. The Constitution requires that if, for example, you are expected to be suspended, it will be done in writing, and the mistake or what you are suspected to have done will also be indicated. And that has not been done. What has been done is that people have been sent away by virtue of the positions they hold. So once you become a head of procurement in a government ministry, in a parastatal, wherever, you are just said, step aside. All right? So then that implies that if somebody is holding a particular position, then that position is taken in itself to be a criminal act. And we are saying that that's not, that may not be the best way, but if there is a reason of doing it that way, then it should not be something which takes a very long time. People should be clear that this is what we are going to do for this period of time, and then we shall have established those ones who are on the wrong, and the ones who are innocent are allowed to go back to the office. Otherwise, you don't keep people with anxiety moments. They don't know what is going to happen next for a very long period of time. To me, that is not proper.
Edwin, Patrick says that's not proper. I'd like to hear your point of view because, again, the reports we're collecting from these procurement offices, they're saying, they're being taken to secret locations. The IDs are being collected. They're being subjected to thorough scrutiny. And some of them have also been subjected to the polygraph test that many people, laughed it off. Do you think there's a valid reason as to, behind this high-level secret kind of operation that is ongoing?
So I want to correct something that Mheshimiwa said first before even I give you my response. The Public Procurement and Disposal Act that was enacted in 2015 has a clear process, and if you look at the public sector, there are 28 steps. Some of the officers are coming in at the 25th step, like the accountant. There's a user department, there's an accounting officer who is responsible for all transactions within a government entity or a ministry, department, or agency, we've not clearly checked on the whole supply chain and be able to ensure that we assure ourselves of the integrity of that whole process. We are only targeting on just 2 individuals who are part of a 28-step process that has other users in it. So what I'm not sure is how well you're going to deal with this issue if you're only going to deal with 2 people. I would have expected, because from the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, the chief accounting officer of any organization, of any entity in the public sector, is the one to be responsible for any procurement. And this basically lies between then the advice that is given out by the procurement professionals and the decision that is going to be made by the accounting officer. And remember, Yusuf, this process starts with the budgeting process. The budget is made out by the user. Then that user, then it's combined into an institutional budget. And that budget then is presented to Parliament. And Parliament allocates resources, then trickles back, and a process starts. The same process starts from the user. I'm not sure whether we are going to deal with the entire issue if we're just looking at 2 individuals, yet there is a whole process and chain that is going to determine how this process of procurement is going to be carried out.
We're going to talk shortly whether or when we're going to see this, lifestyle audit being extended to other state offices. But let me bring Honorable Caleb once again as a representative of the people of Soy. Don't you think the public or your people, for instance, your constituents, and by extension Kenyans, deserve to at least, get details on this on this process?
Well, I'm sure that at the end of the process, then Kenyans will be given a detailed report of who was found guilty or not guilty. But I think also, as you say, whether this process will extend to other government officers, I think also the business community should also go through a lifestyle audit, because those who supply government and maybe connive with the procurement officers are business people. And if the procurement person is paid 10%, then 90% goes to the business community, the suppliers and the manufacturers who supply these goods. So those people also should go through a process, whether they have charged the correct fair rates for the goods supplied, or even whether they actually supplied goods. We've seen cases whereby people supply air and they are paid for supplying nothing. That is something that we also want to, that the business community be targeted in the same process, the way we've targeted the procurement officers. As my Eric has said here about the 28 process, and we're coming in at the 25th to the procurement manager. I think at the end of the day, the entire process stops with the procurement manager, because you're the one in charge. And even today, the president, during the swearing in of the new NYS director, the president told him to his face and in public that the problems we've been facing, and there's no more saying I received a call from above. Every accounting officer is responsible for the decisions they make, and that is where we want this country to go. No more receiving calls from big offices. Let everybody, whatever position you are, act responsibly and know that the buck stops with you.
Before we take a break, let's talk about the time frame. Of course, the president talked about a 30 days period, but we're seeing this process taking almost 2 months down the line. Don't you think it's taking a bit long? And with regards to, once again, the reports we've been getting from these procurement officers, is that they're receiving full salary and even leave allowance, because they've not been fired by anyone. So don't you think this is a bit some sort of an exercise in futility?
Well, as I said earlier, the cost of fighting corruption, we will have to bear the cost. If these officers are receiving their salary, let them receive it. But at the end of it, the process, Kenya will be a better place. We will have better services, and the people of Kenya will be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor and enjoy their taxes in a good way. About the process taking longer than expected, I think the 30-day period was just a guideline. Maybe the proper briefing wasn't done and the president wasn't really aware of the magnitude of issues that were going to be investigated. And I think the time, whether 30 days, whether 60 days, whether even 1 year, is really not an issue, so long as we're doing the things and getting the correct results that we intend to get.
Of course, we're going to probe this matter even further because, of course, the president and his deputy are already on record saying that they're also going to subject themselves to this lifestyle audit. We're yet to see that. But, of course, we are going to continue this debate right here on The Big Story on KTN News. We're going to take a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.